everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make a bracelet to match the Delicate Thorns necklace that I did last week. This is using spike beads, rice pearls, some crystals, and some dagger beads. This doesn't take a huge amount of beads and it's fairly quickly moving. It will take just a couple of hours, so it's a really good little weekend project if you don't have a lot of time. Let's see what it looks like on. This is exactly a 7.5-inch bracelet. It's very pretty on. Now, I will give you the beads that you need for a 7.5-inch bracelet. You can adjust. You can adjust either by adding or subtracting these little end units of rice pearls, or you can add another spike bead unit or subtract a spike bead unit. Either way is fine, but you'll have to adjust the amount of beads accordingly. Let's look at the beads we're going to need today. We are going to use an 8/0 seed bead. I have a translucent pink Czech seed bead that I'm going to use for my 8/0 today. We are going to need approximately 40 rice pearls. These are 4x6 and they're kind of a peachy pink color. You will need a Czech spike bead, 7x17, and you'll need approximately 11 of them. Now if you want to add a unit, you will need 12. If you want to subtract a unit, of course you will need 10. Dagger beads. We will need 22 dagger beads, and these are 3x11 and they're rose colored. These are the small ones. And again, you will add and subtract according to units, and you will use 2 per unit. So just do your math and figure out what you want. It's better just to have an approximation, a little bit over what you're going to use. Then an 11/0 seed bead. I'm using a clear silver lined Toho for my 11/0. You will need a 2x3 crystal Roundel, and you will need 11 of them. And that again is going to go along with how many spike beads you use. However many spike beads you use, you will use the same amount of Roundel crystals. If you cannot find a 2x3 Roundel, you can use a 3mm Bicone or round. You'll just have to adjust the amount of seed beads on either side and make it work for you. And then you will need approximately 22 4mm Bicone crystals. Again, that's going to depend upon the length of your bracelet. I am using a Swarovski and it's rose colored. You will need excuse me, you will need a clasp. I'm using a barrel magnetic clasp. Make sure it's a nice strong clasp so that your bracelet doesn't flip off, because bracelets have a tendency to get caught on things. You will then need a beading needle and 8-pound Fireline. I am using crystal Fireline and I'm using an English size 10 beading needle. Now let's move in, get us a workspace, and get started here. You're going to start by adding an 8/0 a pearl, an 8/0 a pearl, an 8/0 a spike, and an 8/0. So this is what you're going to have on your needle. And then you're going to bring it down to the end. Leave yourself about a 12-inch tail. And then you're going to sew back through all of the beads that you just added. And pull them into a circle. And it should look like this. I'm going to turn it over because I want my tail to be on what I'm going to consider the outside. And then we're going to sew back through the entire unit again just to secure it. And I'm going to sew until I come out of the rice bead the farthest away from the tail. I'm not going to go through the 8-0 again, just the rice bead. And then I am going to pick up an 8-0, a pearl, an 8-0, a pearl. These little pearls are difficult to pick up. An 8-0, a spike, and an 8-0. And I'm going to bring them down to my project. And now I am going to sew back through just these two beads here, the 8-0 and the first pearl. Now, if you notice, I flipped it up so that my spike beads are kind of, one is down and one is pointing up. And that's so that we don't have to do 2 rows of spikes like we did on the necklace. This will make an illusion of 2 rows. Now, we are going to go ahead and sew through our 8-0 and our pearl. And pull. Just like that. And that's what it'll look like. We're going to pick up now an 8-0, a pearl, an 8-0, a pearl, an 8-0, a spike, and an 8-0. This is what you have. Bring them down to your work. And again, we are going to go through the first 8-0 and pearl that we added. I have to turn the work over. I'm sorry, it's just too awkward. And then I'm going to pull. Flip my spike bead up so that it's opposite direction from the one I just added. And then I'm going to go back into the 8-0 and the pearl on the right next to where I'm coming out. And pull. And this is what you should have so far. Let's do this one more time. Pick up an 8-0, a pearl, an 8-0, a pearl, an 8-0, a spike, and an 8-0. Bring them down to your work. And then you will come back through the very first pearl and 8-0 that you added. Oops, include the 8-0 too. The 8-0, the pearl, and the 8-0. Pull them into a circle. If it separates from your work, that's okay because you can just push it over, pulling on the thread and holding onto your unit. Arrange it so that it is the opposite direction from the first one or from the previous one you added. And then sew back through the pearl, but not the 8-0, right next to the spike, and pull. Make sure you keep really good tension Your spike beads are going to flip around and drive you crazy for a little while. Once we start to secure them and do our embellishments, they won't move around so much anymore. But you want to keep them organized so that you know exactly which direction you're putting your beads on for your next unit. You will continue making these units of Ado's rice beads and spikes until you have gone through all 11 of your spike beads, and then we will be back. So I'm about to do my last unit. We'll go ahead and do that. I've added my Ado, pearl, Ado, pearl, Ado, spike, and Ado. And again, I'm going to go through the first 3 beads that I added and pull. Straighten up my unit and then sew back down through the pearl that I'm right next to. And pull tight. And now we are going to add our clasp on this side, or actually our units for our clasp here. So we are going to come into, make sure everything's tight and straightened up. We're going to come into this very last Ado seed bead here. And we're going to pull, tighten everything up. Your last unit, you might want to just go ahead and sew through one more time. Let's go ahead and do that. That way it won't pull apart as we do this. So I'm just going to sew through. This is my unit that my very last unit, just all the beads. And this will secure things and you don't have to worry about your tension so much or pulling apart your unit. Okay, once you get that done, then we are going to come through this very last Ado seed bead. Pull, make sure everything's tight. Then we are going to pick up a rice pearl, an Ado seed bead, a rice pearl, and slide them down. We are then going to come back through this Ado that we started with on the opposite side that our pearls are on, and pull through. And you should have a little unit like this. Then just pick them up and sew back through the pearl that you're closest to. Oops, I messed up my units. There we go. And then come up through the Ado. Add one more unit just like this by picking up a rice pearl, an Ado seed bead, a rice pearl. Drop them down. You're coming out of this side of the Ado, you're going to go into the opposite side and pull. And then secure the unit by coming up through, oops, the Ado, or the rice pearl, excuse me. Pull everything tight, and then come back up through the very last Ado. Now we are going to pick up 3 11-ohs and our clasp, go through our clasp, just like that. Drop it all down. Pick up 3 more 11-ohs and come through the other side of the Ado, the opposite side that we're coming out of, and pull. Now, sew through all the 11-ohs, oops, stuck to my magnet. Sew through all the 11-ohs, the clasp, and the 11-ohs in the Ado in a circle and secure that 3 times, and we will be back. Okay, so I have secured my clasp onto my little rice pearls and Ado here. I am coming out of the bottom of the Ado seed bead. And now I want to move back to my work. So coming out right here, we will go through the pearl. I'm going to pick up my work so that I can actually manipulate it better. I'm going to go through the pearl and pull. I want to secure these little units that I made because they're kind of funny looking. So I'm going to sew through the pearl and then the 8/0 right underneath it here, and then back up through the pearl closest to the work and pull just like that, and then down through the 8/0 right next to my spike bead, and this is where you should be, coming out of the spike bead here. At this point, I want you to go ahead and straighten up your entire bracelet. Make sure that all your spike beads are lying up, down, up, down, up, down. Make sure that they're all in order, because now we're going to secure them this way. So let's get close again. We are coming out of this 8/0 seed bead. This is where we're going to start our embellishment, and our embellishment will be a dagger bead, 3 11/0s, no, excuse me, it's a dagger bead, 2 11/0s, a Roundel crystal, 2 11/0s, and a dagger. So this is what we have. And we are going to go, we are coming out of this seed bead on the back side of our spike bead. We're going to go to the front side of our spike bead and go through the 8/0 right next to the spike bead. Now there's 3 8/0s right here, so make sure that you choose the one right next to the spike. We are not going to be going through this middle little 8/0 at all. We're going to be using only the ones next to the spike beads. Let's go up through this one and pull. Make sure everything's tight, and then you will you're coming out of the one right here by the spike. You're going to go into the opposite one, your spike bead that's pointing up here, and you will go through the 8/0 right next to it, avoiding the little 8/0 in the middle, and pull. This is going to kind of cinch everything up, and that's good. We want that. So now we are going to pick up, get some more thread here, we're going to pick up a dagger, 2 11/0s, a Roundel, 2 11/0s, and a dagger. And we are now going to go into the seed bead on the opposite side of the spike. Make sure that your embellishment goes on top of your spike, not underneath it, and pull. And again, it's going to cinch everything together. This is good. This is what we want. Now we are coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here. We want to go into this 8/0 seed bead on the next spike unit that's pointing down, and go through that, pick up 2 11/0s, or excuse me, pick up a dagger first, 2 11/0s, a Roundel crystal, 2 11/0s, and a dagger. And then drop them down and go into the 8/0 seed bead on the opposite side of your spike bead and pull. Pull everything tight. Keep really good tension here. And then hop down, avoiding the middle 8/0, go into the 8/0 on the side of the spike bead that's pointing up. and pull. One more time. Pick up a dagger, 2 11-0s, and you could possibly, instead of a roundel, you could use maybe even an 8-0 or a 6-0. That would work also. Your roundel, 2 11-0s, and a dagger. And now come through the 8-0 on the opposite side of the spike bead. And just do this slowly, just to make sure nothing gets bunched or rearranged, because this is what's going to set the appearance of your bracelet. Now continue doing this. Skip over the 8-0 in the middle, come through this 8-0 right here, put your embellishment on, and then hop up to the next spike, and then down to the next, and up. And do that till you get to the end, and we'll be back. Okay, so now I am coming out of this little 8-0 here. I'm about to do my last embellishment. So we are going to pick up our embellishment, a dagger, 2 11-0s, a crystal, 2 11-0s, and a dagger. Drop them down. Come through the seed bead on the opposite side of the spike. Now we are going to come up, we're just going to leave our tail here and we're not going to worry about putting this side of the clasp or the rice beads on yet. We're going to move and set our embellishment we just did even a little bit better. Right now this is pretty and but it would flip around and do all kinds of crazy things. So we need to stabilize it a little bit. So we're going to do that by going up through this 8-0 right here next to the first rice bead. Go up through that. And pull. And now come up through the 8-0 seed bead between the 2 rice beads in your unit. Now we are going to move from 8-0 to 8-0 in our original units. We'll just have to kind of lift up our spikes as we do this. So we're going to pick up a crystal, 2 11-0s, a rice bead, or excuse me, a crystal, 2 8-0s, a rice bead, and 2 8-0s, and a crystal. So this is what you will have. A crystal, 2 8s, a rice bead, 2 8s, and a crystal. And then just go underneath your spike and go through the next 8-0 seed bead. That's just kind of poking out there. And pull. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then do the same thing. Pick up a crystal, 2 8-0 seed beads, a rice pearl, 2 8-0 seed beads, and a crystal. And then come through the next unit 8-0. Skip the spike bead that's sticking down and go through the 8-0 that's sticking up. Lift your spike and pull. We're going to do this the entire length of the bracelet. And when we get to this end here, we'll be back. Okay, and now I have gone the entire length of the bracelet, adding my embellishment with my crystals. Now we are going to, let's get a little closer. We're coming out of the last unit 8-0 sticking up here. We're going to sew down into the rice pearl, and the 8/0 underneath it. And we are going to do the exact same thing. We are going to pick up 2 8/0s, or excuse me, a crystal, 2 8/0s, a pearl, 2 8/0s, and a crystal. And now we are going to slide from the one we're coming out right here, hidden kind of by my dagger bead here. It's underneath the little 2 units of rice pearls. We're going to come into the 8/0 here, just like we did on the other side. And pull. Bring your bead up, your spike bead, go underneath it. And again, do the exact same embellishment from 8/0 to 8/0 all the way until you get to this end here. And we'll be back. Okay, so I have done my entire side except for my very last little embellishment here. So I'm coming out of my last 8/0 unit sticking up on this side. I'm going to go to the 8/0 underneath the spike bead here, or on the other side of the spike bead, and I'm going to make my embellishment go under the spike. And then I am going to sew up through this rice pearl and 8/0 here. Real close. Pull everything tight. This is going to set the tension for your entire bracelet. So make sure it's nice and tight. Sew back through the entire unit here. I'm going to turn it over. I have lost some tension there. Pull it again. And I'm going to knot off. I don't have a lot of thread. I recommend that you sew through and tie off a little bit more than I'm going to show you, but I don't have a lot of thread right now, and I don't want to extend it at this point. So I am going to go underneath this little 8/0 seed bead here. Make sure that your tension is good before you knot this, and pull through and knot. And then I'm going to sew back up through this little rice pearl here, and just kind of sew through as much as I can with what I've got left of thread, and then cut my thread off to kind of secure it a little bit better. Like I said, I recommend you go through and knot several times, and then just sew through the back of your piece as much as you can with what thread you have left, and then cut it off. And then we are going to thread our needle onto our tail here. And then we are going to make our little units. We're coming out with our tail and the very last little 8/0 seed bead here. You can see my thread is coming out right here. So we are going to pick up seem to be short, 2 rice pearls. So let's estimate 45 just in case. I may have counted wrong too when I set them out. But pick up 2 rice pearls, an 8/0 seed bead, well, a rice pearl, an 8/0 seed bead, and a rice pearl. Just like that. Come through the 8/0 again that you're coming out of, and pull. We will then travel up this 8-0 or this rice pearl and into the 8-0. Pull it tight and arrange it so it's not all weird looking. And then you will pick up a rice pearl, an 8-0, and a rice pearl. Go through the 8-0 on the opposite side that you're coming out of and pull. We will come up through here, through this rice pearl and this 8-0 seed bead now. Pull tight, make sure it looks good, and then pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. Take the other side of your clasp, put it on your needle, and then 3 more 11-0 seed beads, and come through the 8-0 on the opposite side. Then sew through this 3 times. Sew back down through your rice pearl, 8-0, rice pearl, 8-0. So through your unit and tie off, and we will be back. Okay, so I am back. I secured my clasp, sewed through my last little rice pearls, turned it over, sewed through an original unit and tied it off. And now it's finished. And this is what it looks like with the necklace we made in our last tutorial. This is what it looks like on. And I have my original design here. Let's put them on together. They look really nice together. That's just kind of really a little crazy impressive there. Anyway, that's what they look like. And the necklace looks just as beautiful on as the bracelet does. So I hope you enjoyed the set, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.